If a payment comes to you from your parents in life, we've seen on death at the other end how those payments are then disputed, even by good siblings. And they're disputed because, and just to follow the logic here, is that most parents will want to divide and share and treat their kids equally. Yeah, it's a given. So they'll try and keep a track of what they're giving and helping out to each of them. Different ages like yours is not so easy because sometimes they've got more.
They're better financial position to help my sister. My mum was a single parent with me. Now they're they got woman money now, so they're going to buy her a house or whatever.
And back at mum, dad is invariably not just cash. It could be a house. I'm going to provide you. You don't have to worry about you can live here as long as you want type of thing. So that kind of grows. So you've got this kind of I want to treat my kids equally. You've then got all the kids having different relationships and timing, as you've just described with you, within those families. And they know that. So when death comes and they look back as they do on an estate administration, because you have to look back to see if there's any gifts being given, because for 7 years, if you die within 7 years of death, there's some tax to pay on it. It comes back into the estate. So you're going to get told, invariably, it might be the first time you hear that your brother or sister has received a lump sum from parents. You might have been suspicious, but they've done it. Your head tells you my parents want to treat us all equally. My siblings now saying, yeah, but that was 10 years ago. It's 50 grand. I don't want to include that. Well, you have to. They don't want to add it back in. And we get disputes then arguing about whether it's a gift or it's a loan or it should be taken into account. And then you're into the evidence. Again, best witnesses are dead because the parents are no longer here. And they will run. And if that person happens to be in the 1 in 3 relying on inheritance and they've just been told they're not going to get as much, they'll start to look elsewhere about what else I can do to bump up the estate. So you get even good families doing this. And in fact, lifetime gifts, both to protect, on this podcast for parents and people receiving it, we've identified 21 different types of claims or problems that arise from a lifetime gift of a lump sum of money that can occur on death. And that extends from, and we fixed it because we've created a Bank of Mum Dad app, but the app basically asks you a load of scenario questions. So it asks you things like, if you're giving some money for your child, do you want to ring fence it in case of bankruptcy or divorce? Or it just asks normal conversational questions. And you go, well, yeah, why would I not? Well, if you're going to do that, what you need to do then is create a lifetime trust, or you need to do a will, and it then tells you what you need to do. And I think this is about the will drafting, is that don't see it as this is what happens on my death. See it as this is me estate planning through from now into death and beyond. How do I manage their lifestyles for them?
With this whole lifetime gift, if your parents, for example, my parents bought me a nice little Persia when I was 17, I think.
Yeah.
Would that, things that they look after you when you're a kid, or does that count as a lifetime gift, like buying your first car?
No,
or does it have to be within a certain time period?
No, I don't think it is. It does have to be in a certain, because I'm talking now about the viewpoints of children with their parents dead and there's a pot in front of them.
So if it gets tit for tat where they're like, they bought you that car when you were 17 and that's worth $5 grand.
In fact, I can give you the best example I've got from that is that normally when disputes run, we try and settle them through mediation. So let's get these parties together, get a trained mediator in, and you put the two parties, two brothers in the particular case I'm thinking of, in 2 separate rooms, and the mediator sort of shuffles like Henry Kissinger backwards and forwards to try and get a deal. Lawyers sat in both ends trying to calm them down, work them up, whatever it is to try and get a deal. We had 2 brothers, and it was a very straightforward estate. There was arguments about lifetime payments, just as I've been describing to you. Wasn't much. And in fact, both lawyers, I was in one room as a lawyer in the other room, trying to understand what the hell was going on. Why were these 2 brothers? They wouldn't even move towards each other. Really hostile, really aggressive. Very, very rare. I can count on one hand the number of times the mediator said, look, I'm going to get them in the same room and let's see what happens. So we brought them into the same room and the mediator just said to the pair of them, what's going on? What is it? And it was quiet for about 5 minutes. And then one of the brothers jumped up, pointed at the other one and said, you don't understand. You got the red bike. I had to have the yellow one.
You're joking.
No.
Wow.
Bicycle.
Some deep child issues there.
And lawyers were going, first thing they were doing is, I'm seeing that on the disclosure sheet. Where's that? And then the second thing is, when?
Then it clicked.
They were 9.
Some childhood stuff.
And
They were 9. And then the brother stood up and the other brother went, but I wanted the yellow one.
Oh,
you're joking.
No,
I wanted the
yellow one. And suddenly it was sort of, hairs, everybody's backs of the necks all stood up, and we're like, 10 minutes later, we were outside and we carved up a deal in 30 minutes.
And they went for a beer afterwards.
And that's power of mediation, to be honest. You couldn't get that in a court. But in a mediation, he felt brave enough to do it. But it demonstrates to me just how deep this stuff goes.
He's carried that his whole life. Like that, like favoritism, right. Probably resented his brother his whole time.
And you know, as a receiving party, as a child, you tend to look at money as a measure of love, invariably.
Yeah.
So if my sister gets 2/3 of what I get, then it means my parents loved her 2/3 more than they love me, which sounds daft, but actually, you've got no one to ask and look for reassurance. Again, they're not here. Is that true? It feels like it's true.
It does. Yeah, it feels like it happened to me at Christmas. My brother and sister got like one more present than me, and I got really upset. I was trying not to because it's Christmas, you know, it's about Jesus.
Yeah.
I did those.
I didn't get any presents.
You know this. You buy yourself a present, mate. I need a present. Because Christmas brings out the child in you. So like we're all there, family. We've had a big lunch with like our cousins and stuff, and there's time to open the present. All our cousins left. It's just me and my siblings and my partner and my kid. And then we're opening presents. I'm like looking around. I'm like, where's my second present? Like they both got two, and then my mum, I didn't say anything, but she could see I was like, obviously, like my face is very expressive.
Yeah.
So she's like, my fiance is like, you look really like down. So I was like, oh crap. So I like tried to cheer up, and then my mum, like when I left, she wrote me a message. She's like, you know, I love you so much. Blah blah. She's like, your son got presents, and so did your fiance. So that counts as presents for you. And I was like, oh, I didn't think about it like that. So I can see like how people get emotional about these things, because you're like, I'm meant to be the favorite child, and they both got 2 presents. So I've only got 1. She's like, yeah, but your fiance and your kid also got presents. So like we actually got you like 5 presents. And I was like,
See,
so like I can understand people taking this to the.
I can't believe what I'm hearing. Child.
Man,
do you know, I have to say,
I love Christmas. I don't care what you say.
You love presents.
I do love presents.
I've got two things to say, really. One is that's just like Harry Potter and Dudley. When Dudley does that, he goes, where's my 37th present? That's important. But point number 2, I could not describe more beautifully than you just have the actual impact of a will. And I leave you 1 present, I leave them 2, them 2. Yeah. You're sitting there going, oh, where's my other one? And the only reason why you were okay about it eventually is because your mum told you.
Yeah, she said
that's
message.
Not a measure. Yeah. This is why I've done it.
The message was better than the present.
Absolutely right.
But if they're gone, you don't get that message.
Exactly
you know?
right.
Well, that's why you need to leave the message in the will, right? You need to say, for my eldest son, you've been so financially successful that I think it's fair that you don't get the most or whatever. Like, you know.
So what we've tried to do with the Bank Mum and Dad idea is to say that we recognise that people aren't going to do a will every time they give a lifetime gift. So let's do a little memorandum of understanding, something that's produced that explains, like your mum did, explains what and why and how it should be taken into account, so that then passes on. So the explanation would be the combined value of you, your child and your partner's presence is the same as the other 2, and that's the way it should be. Yeah. And if it's not, equalise it.
That was a clip from our full-length conversation with Martin Holdsworth, who specialises in inheritance disputes, and you can watch the full thing right here.